What's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to the Shadeless Podcast. Today, we want to talk about how the Mets wrapped up the season in general, and what we're going to be talking about come this offseason. Make sure you click that subscribe button down below. We appreciate all the subscribers here on YouTube, and also follow us on Instagram and TikTok. All right, so Vin, obviously you were working the other day when the Mets got eliminated from the playoffs.
Thank God.
On the live. I jumped on the live. I was able to talk to, everybody in the chat about, how the season ended and what a failure the end of this season was after the All-Star break coming down the stretch, and then obviously them falling flat on their faces. We didn't get a chance to hear from you. We didn't get a chance to hear your final thoughts that last game. So give us your final thoughts, give us your opinions, and yeah, let us know what you think about that season.
So this was probably, I would say, from April to right up until the last game of the year, this was probably the Mets team that I've seen some bad teams, right? I'll start with that. We've seen some bad teams, but as far as like expectations and everything, this was probably the team I had the least fun watching for a full season. It was like the complete opposite end of the spectrum from last season to this season, where last year they fought, they had heart, they came back. I think they said this year they were like 0-70 when trailing after 8 innings in games.
Yeah,
And
0-70.
Championship teams don't do that, man. And with the names in this lineup, it's kind of like pathetic. They had no heart, no fight all season, and I almost feel that it might have been a good thing that this team missed the playoffs, because changes need to be made, and this is just flat out unacceptable if you're Steve Cohen. I saw something on Instagram today, like grade Steve Cohen since he's been an owner. I gave him an A. I think Steve Cohen has been an absolutely phenomenal owner. He has no problem writing the checks. He has but just look what he did to Citi Field.
Yeah.
Citi Field is like an event now when you go, and when the team is good, it's absolutely electric. I mean, this guy paid off Scherzer, he paid off Verlander just to bring in the prospects to upgrade the farm system. So I think Steve Cohen, in my opinion, gets an A as an owner. These GMs need to get their shit together, because it's really, really bad, the product that they're putting on the field with Steve Cohen's money.
Yeah. It's like having you make an investment and then that investment goes bad, and then eventually the person who's investing is going to be upset that he keeps spending all of this money and he's not getting the results of the return on his investment that he wants. And this is year 2 of Stearns. Extremely disappointing. Obviously, year 1 was a major success, but that's just 1 year. The one thing that Met fans are, very familiar of is, 1 year successes.
Right.
Steve Cohen wants to establish himself as a team and a franchise that's going to be a consistent winner, a consistent organization.
Sustainability.
With those upper echelon teams across the country. And so far, we haven't seen that. Not like you said, not from Cohen, but from all of the GMs that he's had underneath him so far. He hasn't been able to reap the benefits of investing all of this money into a team.
And I think this is the year for Stearns. I think this is going to be the year. This is going to be the offseason, because when he came here, I get that he tried to do like these reclamation projects, and last year it was fine, but I feel like there was like a bridge. There was a bunch of guys here that aren't David Stearns guys, Jeff McNeil, Starling Marte, guys like that when he took over the team, they were already under contract. I don't think Alonso is a Stearns guy. I think he's gone, but we'll get into that more. But my point is, like, there's a lot of guys here that Stearns inherited that I think maybe, and I'm trying to be hopeful here, that it was, he was trying to bridge the gap to be able to get rid of these guys and then really put the team on the field that's going to compete in, maybe 2026 and going forward sustainably, because it's embarrassing.
It really was embarrassing. And I think that, not cleaning house and them coming out right away and saying that Mendoza's staying and Stearns is staying, we both agree that one of them should have been the guy to take the fall. Because we know that the roster is going to look completely different. But we thought one of those guys weren't going to be here next year. They're both going to be here next year. But this has to be it for Stearns, like you said. He has to change his philosophy if he wants to be here long term. I think he needs to realize that he's in a big market. I can't penny pinch the market. I have to go out here. I have the investment. I have the financial backing to go ahead and put a a big league, a big market team on the field, and he just hasn't done it so far. All Met fans know that the Alonso and Soto deal was not Stearns. That was all Cohen.
Right.
That was Cohen saying, "Let me get my guys, and then you take care of the rest." And everything that he took care of was a failure. So we definitely see that. We definitely saw that. But change has to come.
And I
Change
just
has to
wanna
come
say, like,
from specifically Stearns. Right.
As far as Stearns, like, the thing that drives me absolutely crazy, and I'm, like, sick of sugarcoating it,
Mm-hmm.
is, like, you just missed the playoffs. Stop with this stupid smirk in these press conferences,
Yeah.
acting like you're the smartest guy in baseball, because you know what? What you did this year, and I heard, was it Evan Roberts? And he was,
Mhm.
like, 100% right when he said,
I heard
"This
this.
year, the 2025 Mets was the biggest black mark in the Mets history." 'Cause
Yeah.
we've had some bad seasons, bro, and we've lived through it in the
Yeah.
early 2000s, and then, like,
The mid
the
2000s
2000,
too.
like,
Mhm.
13, but
Yeah.
those teams weren't expected to do
Right.
anything. You
Right.
couldn't even make the playoffs with one of the highest payrolls in baseball in an extended playoff format. So, I'm sick of
Yeah.
sugarcoating it with some of these guys, like, David Stearns, get it together, bro, because if I'm Steve Cohen, I'm sitting down with him more so than Mendoza
Mhm.
and saying, like, "This is
This is
it.
it. Mhm.
This is your chance. If not, like, go run the Marlins. You don't
Yeah.
wanna spend money, you don't wanna put a good product on the field, go run the Marlins, go back to the Brewers, because I'll bring somebody in, I don't care if I have to pay $1 billion, because guess what? I'm gonna make that in one night when the casino gets put up.
Exactly.
I'll give Theo Epstein $1 billion to come in here and run my organization."
We said that, man, and I know Theo. I think Theo has, and like obviously we're just speculating. I think Theo has long term goals of being the commissioner of baseball one day, and I think that's what he envisions himself as. He would have been the guy to get before Stearns. I mean, Theo Epstein would have. We've seen what he's done with franchises over and over and over again, and creating champions on the field. I think that would have been a much better hire, but I don't think he was available at the time from his perspective. I don't think he wanted a GM job. But listen, there's nothing we can control, right? The only thing we can control is, if we show up to the game. And I want to
Right.
kind of transition to that a little bit because I do give Steve a lot of credit. One thing, and I heard this on the radio also driving home from work on the fan, they compared, in terms of money, Steinbrenner to Cohen. And one thing that they said that no matter what happened on the field, whether it was a successful season for the Yankees or a negative season for the Yankees,
Which there wasn't many.
right? But Steinbrenner, as soon as the season was over, came out and made a statement about the state of the franchise. And you saw that with Cohen. The moment the last out was, well, not the moment, but a couple of hours after the last out, Cohen talked to the fans directly. And that shows how intact and how much he has his hands on the investment that he's made buying the Mets. He asked fans, he asked us to show up to Citi Field this year, and we did in wrecking breaking numbers.
Record numbers.
Yeah, 3 million fans over a course of a season is absolutely amazing. So we did what we had to do, and he understands that the franchise and the organization did not do what they needed to do from the top down. So, that was cool to see that Cohen, came out and said, thank you for the fans, and that's all nice and everything. But I think it was Evan Roberts, Vin. He said, that's great, but what you just showed as a franchise, they shouldn't touch parking. They shouldn't touch season tickets. I'm not a season ticket holder, but I know a lot of friends are. Those tickets should not go up in price after what just happened this year. Just leave it status quo. Give us the break for the season. We showed up. We did what we had to do.
Yeah.
That's the least you can do for us. I mean, if parking gets raised again this year, I mean, that's just,
Well,
crazy.
I think the thing, and, I kinda made this comparison when we did a quick Instagram live. I wish, and I said this earlier, I said this a few minutes ago, I absolutely love Steve Cohen. I have no
Yeah.
complaints about Steve Cohen at all. But I
No,
do
we got
wish
the
at some
problem.
point he would come out and show just a little bit of that Steinbrenner,
Mhm.
because, like, when we were younger and we were watching the Yankees, Steinbrenner hated to lose. He despised it. Steinbrenner hated losing
Mhm.
more than he loved winning.
100%.
And it was like, I get baseball kinda caught up, because back in the '90s when we were growing up and the Yankees were, like, at the top of, the world,
Mhm.
it was like And even in the early 2000s, even though they weren't winning, it was like, okay, we just lost. Well, guess what? Jason Giambi, I'm going to pay you and steal you from the A's. Johnny Damon, I'm going to steal you from the Red Sox. Like, I want that. I want
Yeah,
Steve Cohen to go out and be like, well, Kyle Schwarber, I'm going to steal you from the Phillies. And guess what, Philly? There's nothing you can do about it. I'm
right.
taking your best players. And like I want now that's not to say like we got to sign everybody,
No,
but like it's
make the
like
impact.
it's addition by subtraction too. You
Yeah,
sign somebody like Kyle Schwarber. Well, now Philly just lost 60 home runs. And like I want that in Steve Cohen where like he just despises losing because as fans we do. Like we're
right.
sick of it.
Mhm,
I'm sick of going to like you went. I didn't go to the game.
mhm.
And I love Jonah Tong. I know I put something out on Instagram and I got like kind of mixed emotions, but I got a lot of backlash about
Is it the
trading
trade?
Jonah Tong.
Mhm.
But and I love him. But like you went to that game and it's just like the team is dead, bro. It's over before they even get on the field.
Yeah, yeah.
And like I don't want that anymore. I
Well,
want to go to City Field and like every single night this team has a shot to win.
I think this is a perfect chance, a perfect opportunity to transition a little bit. Like we said, obviously things have to change from the front office perspective. Like I said, let's move to the dugout and the clubhouse because like you said, that the team was dead the second half of the year. Literally the whole second half of the year.
Yeah.
The team showed very little emotion. 0-70 in ninth inning comebacks. So something was up with the team, and I talked about this Vin the last time I was live. Right after the Mets lost. Billy in the chat. What up, Billy? Billy
What up,
Hope.
Bill?
Something is disconnected in that clubhouse. And the one thing I do like that Mendoza has done, he doesn't give a lot to the press. And, not to relate the two teams, but being a Jets fan, like I lived through the Belichick era, and Bill Belichick never let anything out of his clubhouse.
Right.
Anything, nothing left the locker room.
Aaron
And
Glenn's gotten better at that though, by the way.
yeah,
Gotta get
yeah,
he's been better.
yeah, but Belichick was tight ship, nothing left the organization, and I like that Mendoza does that because we don't know what happens behind closed doors with this team. We don't know who
Right.
likes who. We don't know who's mad. We don't know, if a player is having a down week. We don't know, and I kind of like that because sometimes being in New York, being in the market, the media can just be ruthless, and I think he's done a good job with that. But with that being said, Vin, there's a disconnect there that it's blatant that something isn't connecting between the leadership in the locker room and the rest of the team. Listen, we disagree on the idea of Lindor being the captain of the team. We disagree on if Alonso should stay, but just give us your thoughts and give us your perspective on what do you think is up with the team and where do you think there is a disconnect? Is it between the front office and the players? Is it between players and players? Like, is there a leadership problem in the locker room? What do you think?
All right. Well, I'll just talk about Lindor for a second, and I love Lindor. Listen, I know me and you break each other's chops about it.
Mm,
Lindor's been everything on the field numbers wise, and I'm going to specify numbers wise when I
mm,
say that. But I think there is something with Lindor because Soto came out and said at a very weird time in the season when they were
mm,
talking about naming Lindor the captain and all that. He basically came out and said that Marte was the leader of that locker room.
mm,
As far as the players, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I think there's something between the Spanish players and the American players. I don't know what it is. Maybe like Iglesias and Martinez were that bridge because last year the whole team looked like they were just on the same page. And I noticed a few things this year on why I'm saying this. You remember last year when certain guys would come back to the dugout after an at bat and they would show them talking in the on deck circle
yeah,
about, this pitcher throws that pitch or that pitcher throws this pitch. And I don't know where it started, but I just wish that I just want the guy to like connect them again. And this is why I keep saying because the talent is there, bro. Like Nimmo, I know me and you talk about Nimmo, but realistically, Nimmo had a career year.
yeah. No, he
Alonso
did.
had a great year.
I gave
You
him
got
I gave him credit in the live the last time that he definitely had his best year as a Met.
Yeah, you got
Mm,
Lindor and you got Soto. So the guys are there. I'm kind of this is why I keep throwing that out there, and it might be just a pipe dream. Bring in somebody like Beltran. Bring in somebody like JD Martinez. Because let's be honest, a lot of these guys are young now in this generation. So Beltran being from like that old school type thing, that 2006 team that Beltran was involved in, was one of the closest teams I've ever seen, and we still
Right.
see it to this day when they have,
Mhm.
like, the alumni games or the old like, when they bring back, like, the older players, I've never seen any Mets closer than Jose Reyes and David Wright, and I want that again because
Right.
the talent is there. This team on paper can play with I'm convinced lineup-wise, their pitching, we'll talk about that, needs a lot to be fixed, but lineup-wise, they could play with almost anybody. So
Yeah.
they got like you said, and it's a good point, they gotta find that disconnect and bring everything together because they have the talent there.
Sorry, hold on. I'm just answering the chat. So Julian in the chat, shout out Julian. Julian says Beltran was the GOAT. I cried in '06 like a baby.
Yeah.
That Andy Chavez catch was fire. I was at that game, the best and worst game I've ever been to. Big Joe, what up, Joe? Joe in the chat. Joe says Lindor has that with Alonso and Nimmo, but never with Soto. So he was talking about the relationship there between Lindor, Alonso, and Nimmo, but
And I
not
didn't
Soto
think
yet.
we would see that because remember spring training, bro? They were
Yeah,
all like the whole team was together in the dugout laughing, and somewhere along the lines, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said there's a disconnect somewhere. They just
yeah.
have to find it. And that was big with Buck.
But
Buck
winning
cut all that out.
but winning solves everything, and
Absolutely.
losing destroys everything. Like you can have the best team on paper, but if you're not winning, that's when feelings really start to come out. And that's what we saw this year. And you know what? I think in a very small sample size, you saw the energy of the team pick up when McLean, Sproat, and Tong were on the field.
Absolutely.
Because I think the players knew that, like, all right, the front office is trying their best to go ahead and make a change to our pitching staff because we only scored. They were talking about on the radio that we only scored 2 less runs this year than last year. I think we have the 5th most in baseball. So it's not like we weren't putting up runs, but the pitching was. I think the pitching was just a black cloud over the team, and the entire team knew it. And it's discouraging every day. Like, all right, we have no shot. This guy's on the mound. He's only going to go 2, 3 innings.
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, why? We're a $300 million team. We don't have one pitcher that can go more than 3, 4 innings.
And I think that's why the coaching staff needs to really you got to take a real hard look at the coaching staff because I understand the production numbers were there, but there was something missing with this offense. And the guy that I was kind of on the fence about, but now I'm leaning towards getting rid of
Mm-hmm.
was Jeremy Hefner.
Yeah, I'm over him.
You know, he did an unbelievable job last year.
Mm-hmm.
And this year it was like, why am I going on TikTok and seeing Trevor May able to pinpoint Ryan Helsley is tipping pitches and Jeremy Hefner is not fixing this?
Yeah.
Why are we getting guys in the bullpen that had amazing success? Helsley, Rogers, Soto's kind of hit or miss, but when Soto's on, he's absolutely dominant. Why are
Yeah.
we getting guys like this in the bullpen and then as soon as they come over here, it's just like right in the tank?
Yeah.
So
No, I
that
know.
the bullpen is the main reason why I would get rid of Jeremy Hefner. The only guy on this coaching staff from top to bottom, in my opinion, that's safe is Richardson,
Yeah.
our first base coach, because he
And
did
then
an unbelievable job with the base running.
they do things backwards. No, he retired. He retired.
Sherlock,
The catching
Glenn,
instructor retired. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I was gonna say I thought he got left go. Once they figured out Helsley, he was lights out.
I bring
Yeah,
him
but
back.
I bring him back 100%. Let him have a second go round. I mean, the guy obviously was dominant in St. Louis. He's still a plus reliever. And you know what? If Diaz opts out, you could put him back in the position where he's comfortable pitching in the 9th inning.
Right.
And we saw that he can close games for the Cardinals. Maybe you give him that opportunity here if Diaz decides to opt out and go elsewhere for big money. Richardson was absolutely amazing. Sorry, Jim, I've just been reading off a couple of the comments. Who would you hire as a new pitching coach? We'll talk about that in a couple seconds. Losing Joey Cora was a large impact, says Joe. Yeah. So I mean, the supporting cast around Mendoza has been good. I just think that the idea and the dream that they sold us of this amazing pitching lab was exactly what that was. It was a dream and a hope
Yep.
and something that they sold us because if it was such an amazing pitching lab, we would have more pitches to go more than 3 innings. I mean,
Well, I look at it like this, right? For 2024, I loved what Sean Manaea gave us,
mhm,
but he at the end of the day, he was kind of a gimmick. He
yeah,
changed his arm slot and he tried to replicate Chris Sale and Listen, when Chris Sale is struggling or Chris Sale doesn't have his secondary pitches, the big difference between going out there and being able to throw the ball 98 miles an hour as opposed to 92 miles an hour.
Right.
And this is a league where guys pick up on things very, very fast. So
Mhm.
once guys started figuring out Sean Manaea, it was like
He couldn't adjust.
he's back to the old Sean Manaea.
Right. He couldn't adjust. Big Joe agrees with you, Vin. You mentioned it before that you would love to see Al Leiter take over as the pitching instructor, the pitching coach. I think that'd be a great move. That would be really cool. And Al Leiter is a guy who he's gonna hold players accountable, and
Yes.
we all know him on the mound. He was a bulldog on the mound. So if he can preach some of that philosophy and some of that that grit to some of these younger players, and I think that these three young kids really show their competitive edge to them. You know, McLean, Sproat, and Tong, they all show that, they get a big out, they get a, they're dominating, they show that emotion. Mendoza needs to stop with the second guessing. This is analytics. This is analytic baseball. I don't think these coaches are really making that many tough decisions anymore. A lot of it comes from, a kid running a piece of paper to the manager in between innings about what's happening next. And I think that's what baseball is now. He
I,
rather
I
give up.
will say, I will say in defense of Carlos Mendoza, and
Mhm.
I was a big supporter of him early in the year. Late in the season, he made a lot of moves that I didn't agree with, but early in the year, this guy had no options. It was
No.
every guy out of the bullpen that he brought in was not getting the job done. And I think I mentioned this, and I think at a certain point in the year, in the first half of the season,
Mhm.
everybody was jumping on Mendoza, and nobody was holding these guys accountable. Nobody
Right.
was holding the Staniks accountable for coming in and just not getting out. Nobody
Yeah.
was holding the players accountable for not getting the 2-out hit or the driving the run in from third with 1 out or no outs. And it was like Mendoza at that point could only do so much. And it's kind of a shame. And I think Mendoza's in a tough spot because we have a manager who I think can end up still being a good manager, but we're gonna go through the learning curve on a team that is expected to win now. The guy who I think completely failed the Mets this year was Gibbons, his bench
Yeah.
coach. This
Mhm.
is a guy that was a playoff manager. He was been through the fire. And where was he with the experience and the feel of the game to say, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that? And if he was making choices and helping Mendoza, then that's absolutely pitiful. He's got to go because that's a
Yeah.
guy, like I said, who's been through he's been battle tested.
Well, Cohen came out, like I said, last after the last game, and he said that they're gonna evaluate the organization from the top down, and they're gonna evaluate everything that went right and everything that went wrong. So far this episode, we've been talking about a lot of things that went wrong. But Vin, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's talk about the positive. Although it's hard to say positive when this team doesn't make the playoffs, there were still some bright spots this year. So Vin, just give me one or two things that you look forward to next year in terms of the team that you thought, like, you know what, we didn't make the playoffs, but X, Y, and Z, were impressive this year.
Outside of the Fab Four, they called them,
Yeah.
I'm absolutely thrilled for the future of Nolan McLean.
Hmm.
I mean, he came up and looked every bit of what was advertised. I'm excited for all three of them. I still think Tong is going to be a good pitcher for a long time, but I mean, how? What else can you say about the job Nolan McLean did for this team this year?
Right. Right.
I do think there was a positive when Alvarez came back. We started to see him maybe cut down his swing a little bit and start to get hit the base hits. But I think the brightest spot on the team is this young pitching.
Yeah.
I love what I saw, and hopefully this could be the time that we expected Harvey, Syndergaard, Wheeler, and DeGrom. Maybe these three, if one of them doesn't get traded this offseason, like we put up.
Like you said.
But I think these three can bolster your rotation, and maybe we start to put together a rotation of homegrown guys like they did in Seattle, and they've had success with their pitching. So I think that's the brightest spot going forward.
And I think we have to stop, and we do this all the time, and it's only natural when you have such a young crop of pitchers coming up through the organization to compare them to previous rotations. What we've seen from McLean, Tong, and Sproat, only brings hope. Vin, there's more guys down there that not a lot of
Yeah,
people talk about that are a little bit further down the development path. I love the kid Santucci, that he has a power arm down there. I think eventually he'll come up and he'll contribute as well. But one bright spot that I love this year, and I was so down on him last year, but he really settled in, and I think they need to continue his development there, is Brett Beatty.
Yes.
Brett Beatty had a really, really, really good second half of the year. Played good enough at third base, but he really started to show that he's developing as a hitter, going to all sides of the field. His power numbers had a little bit of a boost from last year, but I really like what I've seen from Brett Beatty, and maybe that can give them an option moving forward in terms of a trade opportunity. Are they going to move on from him and use him as a trade chip to go ahead and get one of those big starting pitchers? Or are they going to pencil him in from day one at third base, and then that gives them flexibility on the free agent market to go ahead and fill another hole that we obviously have? So I really like what I saw from Brett Beatty. And then if I had to go one more, I mean, Diaz was lights out.
Oh, yeah.
Edwin Diaz had a great season. And then just wrapping up this little portion of the show, just I don't know what else I can say about this guy, Juan Soto. I mean, we got exactly what we signed up for with this guy. Listen, obviously coming from the Bronx to Queens, the expectations were so high. The guy had 3 bad weeks. And then after that, man, this guy played like an MVP throughout the whole season. Were there opportunities for him to really go ahead and put his stamp on the team in terms of coming up in clutch situations and just not getting there yet? Yeah, there were some times throughout the summer where he would come up late in the game and roll out to second or pop out or whatever he did. But I mean, to finish with 43 home runs, over 100 RBIs, but the
30.
most yeah, that was it. The most impressive thing, and I think that this would really, if he continues this and he can really add this to his repertoire as a player, he's going to compete with Ohtani every year for the MVP. I mean, if he actually does reach that 40, I think if he would have reached the 40-40 mark this year and we made the playoffs, I think they would have given him the MVP just over voters fatigue in terms of
Yeah,
Ohtani winning
kinda
that.
like the LeBron thing in the NBA.
Exactly. So I think that if we would have made the playoffs and he would have reached that 40-40 clip, he was only 2 stolen bases away. I think they would have given him the MVP. But I love this guy Soto, man. I love Lindor. I hope that I saw Salicata go out and say that they should trade Lindor.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was
He's not
about.
going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. I mean, but to build around these 2 guys is like we finally have those 2 cornerstone guys that we're gonna have. I think Lindor has 6 years left, and then obviously, long term with Soto. But we're coming up with what time are we at
I
here?
just wanna talk about, what Fernandez said in the comments. He said, "I think signing Cody to play center field and Bregman to play third, put Beatty at second, makes us better than bringing back Pete."
Yeah,
I
that
talked
look
about this, and I love
perfect
what
segue.
you said about Beatty.
So let's talk about
I love that because if they were to trade Vientos and or Mauricio, I
yeah,
think Beatty has played himself into the part where he's become a very, very good defender,
yeah.
and he's got more versatility than those other 2. So, I know you
I'm a,
and this is just a name, I'm just throwing this out there, I know you love the guy, but if they wanna move forward with Beatty at third, you could bring in a guy like Jazz to play second, or if they wanna put Beatty at second, you could bring him in a guy like Bregman to play third, and I think Beatty has given you enough confidence that he can play either position at a very high level.
I'll tell you one thing. If the Yankees lose tonight and what they did to Jazz, what Boone did to Jazz game 1 and not starting him after the season he had for them, and then he comes here, that's like, all right, you want to bench me after the season I just did? I'm going across town with Soto, and we're gonna go out and win.
See, I feel like Jazz, and you know my feelings on Jazz. I've been very
Yeah,
open about not being in love with him. But on the other hand, I feel like somebody like Jazz with the Mets team that looked dead on the field, he brings a fire. He brings a
yeah,
flair.
yeah.
I think he has an option, Joe. I'd have to look into it for sure, but I think he has either a player option or if it's a club option after what he did after the first game, I can't see the Yankees picking that up.
No, yeah, but
But, just
let,
somebody like that, Joe. That was the point I was getting at, that Beatty gives you that versatility to go out and get somebody at multiple different positions and be comfortable with Beatty no matter where you're putting him.
so Vin, the biggest question of the offseason, we're at the 30-minute mark. So the biggest question of the offseason, Vin, and we know we're polar opposites on this, is Pete Alonso. And are the Mets going to bring him back? Is Stearns going to give him what he deserves in terms of a contract? Like I said, we're polar opposite. In my opinion, Alonso should be a Met. He earned to be a Met. He wants to be a Met. The only thing that worries me, and I said this the last time, is that lockout that's coming. And that's my biggest concern because I think we're going to lose the whole season. But if we lose a full season due to a
God, imagine
lockout,
summer without baseball.
I think it's coming, bro. I think it's coming. But I want Alonso here. I want him to be a career Met. If he is a career Met, he's going to be I didn't say the. He'll be one of the best Mets that's ever put on a jersey. And then if he wins a series, if he goes out and wins a World Series, he could very well be one of the, like, besides Tom Seaver, 1 and 2, 1 and 1A, 1A, 1B in terms of best Met of all time. But go ahead, give us your thoughts. Everybody knows in the chat how you feel about Alonso, but for those who don't know,
All right. You're making it
should the
sound a
Mets
lot
bring back
worse.
Pete?
You're
What
making it
happened?
sound a lot worse than what I
You hate the
really
guy.
mean.
You hate the guy.
I love Pete.
No, you don't.
I do. I love everything he's done for this organization. I think he's been, whether he stays or whether he goes, the bottom line is he's been a great Met. He's probably right now, and this includes David Wright, because David got hurt at the end of his career. I
Mhm,
think Pete is the best homegrown Met to ever put on the jersey.
mhm.
And that's numbers wise because guys like Darryl left and David got hurt, but I just don't think he's gonna be back. My heart wants him back. My everything in my head is telling me no. He's not a Stearns guy. I think we saw this last offseason, and the only reason he was back with the Mets this season is because he had absolutely no market. And I think the thing that really hurts Pete and the thing that really goes against him is his free agency at his age. He's
Right.
gonna be 31 or 32, I forget exactly what the number is on his age, but
Yeah.
would I like to see Pete as a lifelong Met? Yes, of course I would. I mean, the guy's the home run leader in the franchise. But the baseball side of me and how I feel about the game, I do feel like with the contracts they already have locked up, unfortunately, when he's a free agent, I think you can build a better baseball team if you let Pete walk. And there's like a multitude of different ways that you could go with, whether I know somebody wrote it in the chat, so I'll just bring up his name. And this is most likely not going to happen. But if you convince a Bo Bichette to play second base,
Mhm.
and you bring in a Cody Bellinger. So that, that's 2 guys as opposed to, I think if we sign Pete, I don't think there's gonna be much change in the offense.
I think that something's coming that nobody's expecting, and they mentioned it on SNY on Baseball Night in New York. They were talking about the core four, meaning Soto, Lindor, Alonso, and
I
Nimmo.
think they're gonna look to move Nimmo.
I think Nimmo's gone because he brings absolutely nothing defensively. I think Cohen's gonna go out and give Pete his money, and it's honestly not, bro. I don't understand why people are saying, like, I'm not worried about Pete Alonso's age because if we're going out and giving Lindor and Soto contracts until they're 40, 6 years for Alonso only brings him to 37. So I don't know why people are worried about Alonso's
I
age.
know, but I think just before you I don't wanna cut you off, just because 'cause you're talking about his age, I think the scary thing is when somebody like Pete starts to lose bat speed and he's not a very good defensive first baseman.
I don't think he's going to be a
I
first
don't
baseman.
know where you go with him because he's already openly talked about not wanting to be a DH.
He's gonna have to DH no matter where he goes. And if he wants to be here, yes, maybe 1 or 2 years he'll be the first baseman, but he's gonna be the DH no matter where he goes when he's 34, 35, 36, 37. He's going to be the DH. So now, if you get rid of Nimmo, if Nimmo gets traded, you can upgrade because all Stearns talked about in his final press conference was defensive run saved and being a more efficient. Being more efficient on the defensive end of the ball, pitching and run prevention. If we're worried about run prevention, Nimmo's the biggest factor in terms of defense. What I would do, I would move Soto to left. You get a center fielder, and then you
Is it
can sign.
Bellinger?
It doesn't matter who it is. You just sign the center fielder, and then that is your best defensive outfield. So you can move Soto to the left. I don't think Alonso's going to be there long term at first base. I think Alonso will be the DH. And if Alonso is the DH, like I said, maybe not next year or the year after, but if Alonso becomes a DH, then you can really go out and invest into a
Right, but are
first
you
base.
okay with giving a prime DH 30, 35, $40 million a year for a DH?
Bro, you wanna sign Schwarber for that much money.
That was a hypothetical. We're not getting Schwarber. What I and also Schwarber is, like I said, it was like the Yankee thing. You steal him from Philly, but we're not
I know,
getting
but
Schwarber. I'm just throwing names out there as hypothetical guys to make the team better. Now, I do
right,
agree with you, and there's a guy that I keep throwing out there that I would absolutely love to get. I know you're kinda sick of hearing about it.
yeah.
If Pete walks, first of all, if Pete walks, please, please, Pete, go somewhere like Seattle so we don't have to face you like 18 times a year.
No, he'll go
Don't
to the
don't go to
Bronx.
Philly.
He's
Don't
gonna go to
don't
the
go to the
Yankees.
Yankees. I there's the guy that I want that I would target, and it's Vinny Pasquantino. I think that kid at 26, 27 years old, he steps in, he's a 35 home run guy, and I there's ways. I just think they have to get creative, bro. And Nimmo, like off a career year, Nimmo is the guy that his value is never going to be higher than
Move
right
him,
now. I
move
think
him.
a team like Kansas City, if you pick up some of Nimmo's contract coupled with some of the prospects, I think Kansas City jumps all over that trade.
Yeah. I mean, the trade market is so weird, so I don't have any idea what we're gonna do in terms of the trade market.
Or is Seattle a good partner for Nimmo? Seattle's starved for offense every season.
Yeah,
And every year we hear about Seattle looking to get rid of one of those pitchers. So do you trade Nimmo to Seattle and then maybe you have to give up a little less because you're paying a full contract of one of the maybe like a Castillo who's
yeah.
older? Like there I think there's ways that you could get rid of Nimmo. You could get younger, you could get more athletic, and I think that's the
Mhm.
route that Stearns wants to go. Because look at
100%.
Milwaukee, bro. Look at
Yeah.
the team that he built in Milwaukee. They run, they play
Mhm.
defense, they put the pressure on you 1 through 9 in the lineup.
Yeah. It's definitely gonna be interesting to see how he navigates this, but like we said in the beginning of the show, this is it for him. Like, he has to go all in this season. He can't hold back. He has to go out and put a real rotation together, not a piece by piece rotation. And if two of those spots to start the season is McLean and Sproat, I'm all for it. But you can't have all three of those young kids anchoring your rotation. You have to go out and get guys that are one, gonna throw innings, two, that are gonna be stoppers. So how many times did we lose 6, 7 in a row this year? You have to go out and have that guy that every fifth day gives you a chance to stop a losing streak. So it's gonna be
Uh,
interesting to
I
see.
just wanna say, Joe said, "Why would they trade a young Pasquantino for an old Nimmo? You'd have to throw in, 2 top prospects to even that trade out." And
I would do it.
that's why I said, if you eat some of Nimmo's contract, you could maybe give up a little less. You give them a productive bat in the lineup, and
Mhm.
listen, let's call it like it is. Jet and Benj, I don't see both of them playing on this team
I
because
I
Where
I
do they
think
both play?
I think Benj has the upper hand right now because of the glaring hole we have up the middle and center.
So you
I
don't
think
think
that
they put Jet in center?
I think they project Jet at second for McNeil.
Okay, I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I think they see him more as a second baseman than a center fielder. And Benj, we've seen what he did this season from single A all the way to triple all the way up to the top. Yeah, I like Jet at second just because I don't know. I just think he profiles better at second, and we see what Benj can do out in center.
So then does
Uh,
a package like Nimmo, if you pay some of the contract, and Vientos get it done for Pasquantino?
well, I would rather hold on to Jet and Benj and let go of Mauricio Acuna and Vientos.
So does something like that like, would you make a trade like that if you pick up some of Nimmo's contract and you trade them an Acuna with Nimmo or
I would
a
sign off.
Vientos with Nimmo?
I, I would sign off on any trade that gets rid of Nimmo at this point. I'm just so over him. Yes, he had his career year, like you said, his value is at an all-time high. But me and Brady said it. We were at the game and we were sitting on the third base side. The guy can't even get to a ball in the corner anymore. He like walks to the
Oh,
ball. He's terrible defensively. We know
Miguel, please no. In the
he has
you
one
see
of the
that
worst.
comment?
Yeah, Dominguez, no, definitely not. But I'm just over Nimmo. I mean, I don't know why we gave him an 8-year extension. I mean, the guy apparently has a bad back.
Bad back, bad foot, who knows, bro?
And like you mentioned, he's not a Stearns guy. So Stearns has no connection to him at all. So I could definitely see him moving because you're not moving Lindor. if they sign Alonso, and you're definitely not moving Soto. So one of those guys has to go.
Right, and I think you have to we
Upgrade
spoke on
defensively.
this. We spoke on this. I think the core of this team has gone stale.
Mhm.
And I mentioned this to you, and me and James spoke about it because James is a little more into hockey than you. Being a Rangers fan, if there's any Rangers fans in the chat right now, it broke my heart as a Rangers fan when we traded guys like Zuccarello and JT Miller and Ryan McDonough, but
Mhm.
they were able to rebuild extremely fast when you
Mhm.
get rid of those guys. So I think the core of this team, when you look at Nimmo and you look at McNeil, and unfortunately, as great as Alonso's numbers have been, he's part of that core where it just like to me, it reminds me of losing. And they
Yeah,
gotta do something to shake it up to get like excitement back on the team and turn this around.
I just think that if you bring back Alonso and you have those 3 guys, 1, 2, 3, and then you can move a guy like Nimmo, it really opens up the door to be flexible in a lot of other positions moving forward. And I think Cohen will give Pete the money he wants if Pete comes out and says, "I'm not like thank you for the offer. It's a great deal. It's the most money I have, but I'm not DHing every day." Then that's on him.
Okay, yeah.
That's completely on him. But if Cohen comes out and says, "Listen, Pete, you're getting older. We see that you're getting older. Obviously, you had a terrible year defensively at first. We want to go in this direction in terms of moving you to DH, getting a first baseman that can be an upgrade defensively for our defensive run saved." Then he signs. But if he wants to be a first baseman every day and he turns down the most money that we're going to offer, then he walks. And it's the
And if
same thing.
and if they do, this is like a big if, but if Nimmo and McNeil are not on this team and they don't sign Alonso, then I will be upset.
Right, because now you're breaking up the whole core.
Right, because if you're gonna trade Nimmo and McNeil, then
Mhm.
Alonso should absolutely be back,
Right.
and you go out and you fill in the holes, like, accordingly. And I think
Mhm.
with saving that money and I think you brought up a great point. If you move Soto to left,
Mhm.
there's a big guy out there that you could partner in that outfield with him,
Yep.
and we all know who it is because
Mhm.
now you're freeing up money, and you got a lot of money already coming off the books. Do you make
Mhm.
a play for Kyle Tucker?
Yeah. Yeah. And then
And
and
we spoke about it in '08 when the Yankees missed the playoffs. You had A-Rod there, you had Jeter there, you had Rivera, Posada, you had Cano. So, they went out that offseason after missing the playoffs with all those guys. They added Sabathia, they added Burnett, and then what did they do? The cherry on top was they added Mark Teixeira. So, don't tell
yeah,
me that we can't do it.
I know. And that's what they have to do right now because the lockout is staring us in the face, and we don't want to waste another prime year of Lindor and Alonso. So I definitely think it's going to be an interesting offseason. But 2025 was an overall failure of a season. We all know that. But I think it's been a couple of days now. I think I'm okay with just shutting the book on 25 and moving on to the off season. And that's why we wanted to jump on today. But Vin, we're almost at the hour mark, so
I
I
just
think
wanna address one thing in the comments, I'm sorry.
yeah, go.
Guys, Soto's not DHing. Soto was not the problem.
No, Soto made one error all season.
Yeah, and it was in game, like, 157.
Yeah, like
Soto was
that's
not the problem defensively this year.
I hate that narrative that the Yankees bring on us between that Soto's not obviously he's not the best center fielder in the world,
Right
but
fielder.
he wasn't the reason why we lost games
And
defensively.
also, listen, as far as the Yankee fans, people need to just, like, say what they say take what they say and completely throw it out the garbage, because before we signed Soto, all I heard from Yankee fans was, "He's a Gold Glove finalist, look at this." Everybody talked about his defense, and then we signed him, and it was like, "Oh, good luck with his defense in right field. He's a
Yeah,
terrible defender." Like, Soto is fine. He's 26. Soto's gonna be here for another 14 years. If we see Soto as a DH, it's not gonna be for another 8, 9 years.
it's crazy.
He's
I mean,
playing the outfield, guy.
this guy Soto's going to go down as a top hitter in the history of baseball, and we're worrying
Yeah,
about him making one error. Like
yeah, he's fine. Soto is fine in the outfield.
Soto is definitely going to be fine. But Vin, I wanted to just before we go, we'll make a reel about it this week. I want to do a giveaway
Okay.
just for our followers. I have a lot of nice Met stuff in my collection. I want to do a giveaway to all the people that supported us in our first year of the podcast. I was thinking about it this morning. So we're going to make a reel. We are going to do a giveaway. In order to get in the giveaway, all we ask for you to do is please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our Instagram pages on Instagram. So once we post that video, we're going to ask you to simply tag 3 of friends that are Mets fans, ask them to follow us on YouTube and Instagram, and then I'll announce what we're going to give away. But I definitely want to give away something to say thank you to all the supporters. What a great first year we had. We had some awesome guests on the show. We're able to meet some really cool people. One of the best things that we did this year, I love going to the games and seeing you guys and meeting up with the crew. And we see Joe all the time at the stadium, Sinropa, Roscoe, everybody at the stadium. So it's been awesome. We love having you guys on the show. We love the interactions every day. Vin, any final words that you want to say before we wrap up the 2025 season and close the book on 2025?
What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
No, listen, I mean, 2025 was a tough year. Hopefully, we could turn the page quick. I'm looking forward to the offseason. I wish we could just fast forward through the playoffs because I don't feel like watching the Yankees and Dodgers again. But I think it's going to be an interesting offseason. And thank you guys. Seriously, like Lou said, thank you so much for everything that you guys have given back to us this season, all the interactions. If we don't get to comment or, directly message back, we try the best we can to see everything. And we really appreciate and love every single person who's interacted with us this year. It's been really great. And we're looking forward to next season and seeing what this team does and seeing you guys out at Citi Field again, because that was amazing.
So that's a wrap on the 2025 season. Like I said, Vinny and I will be back all off season to bring you all of the updates, all of the Mets hot stove as we get into the off season. So like always, guys, let's go Mets, and we'll see you next time from the Shadeless Podcast. Thank you, guys.